Alright, go.
So it's, you can see wherever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to leave it all in one shoot. It should be able to hear you too, because I got a mic and all that shit. Text, yeah. It has a 10-second delay. Why, are you gonna watch it? You gonna start calling bandwidth up? Yeah, you might want to go ahead and just figure.
Oh, okay. I think just go through left and right. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Marcus, and the main point of this presentation is to compare ArchAssault, Kali Linux, and also compare Security OS and some of the differences between the different distros and how they can be used for penetration testing and other information security tasks. The main scope of this presentation, I covered the 64-bit releases for all of these, and there are other releases I'll talk about briefly at the end. So starting off with the philosophy of the developers, ArchAssault, their main philosophy, they piggyback off of the Arch way, which is to provide a simple distro that allows you to have the latest releases available to you, and they provide you just the bare minimum. So what this means by the bare minimum is that you won't have a graphical installer. You'll actually be in there copying the files yourself, running the updates, configuring all the settings yourself. But what that also does, it gives you a greater understanding of how your Linux installation is actually working, and it's as stable as you make it. So if you only turn on DHCP and you install a few packages, then you'll have an ultra stable release that you don't have to worry about because all the other picky packages that you never use ran updates and broke it. Kali Linux, so it's a major player. Most people probably already know about it. Is there anyone that doesn't know about Kali? So Kali Linux is a Debian-based distro. So they have thousands of packages available, very popular release, and they use a regular style release cycle where every so often they'll release a new major release. Parrot Security OS is a smaller distro that I found just searching around. The team that manages it is called the Frozen Box Network. They're an Italian-based group that their goal was to provide a security distro for information security professionals that accessible from any level. So from the very beginner, there's a lot of graphical tools in there and tools that they specifically put in there to make it easier for you to get started, and also for professionals. So the installation process for all three of these, for me personally, as I was going through the ArchAssault installation, I was actually learning a lot more about Linux as I was going through it. So it took me about an hour to get the ArchAssault installed all the way through. From the time that I started up the live distro till the time that I had it permanently installed, I had my command line interface on the first time through. So Kali, easy and quick to install. You have, since it's Debian based, you have you have a choice of the graphical installer and also the text-based installer. It took me about 15 minutes to just go through the menus, press enter about 10 times, set partitions, run updates, and that's it. So Parrot, since they're also Debian based, they actually pull some stuff from Kali. The only problem I really have with Parrot is that some of my Wi-Fi cards, some of the newer ones, like the Intel Wi-Fi drivers, since they're proprietary, they were not included with the installer, so you just have to install those after you get Parrot installed.
Jump in for a second?
Yeah.
There's also, we support repo-based installations. So if you don't want to go through the process of setting up a vanilla Arch install, and you have an Arch-flavored distro that you prefer as is, Archbang, Manjaro, there's a few of them out there. You can basically go through their standard graphical installer, modify your pacman conf file to include the ArchAssault distribution, run a couple updates, pull down the mirrors list, and now you have everything that's in ArchAssault. Every package, every update. The only thing that you don't get is a custom kernel, I think, but I have to check if that's true. I'm not sure if that's true.
I'm pretty sure that's what ArchAssault. Their particular version of ArchAssault comes with a custom kernel.
Yeah, it comes with a custom kernel. I just don't know. I don't know if you can patch that into another install.
Well, I would imagine it would take your Arch Savvy then to be able to take that kernel that they have and be able to load it into
but
your particular.
the Arch kernel has only been active maybe 2 months, a month. The functionality without it is still there for 99.999% of the packages. So.
All right, thank you for that. All right. So this is just a slide of the live distro. So one thing that threw me a little bit off, but I know you said that you're working through that process. But when you go through the live install, it does come with a graphical desktop. But when you actually install ArchAssault, it's only going to have what you have. So if you don't install a graphical desktop, you're not going to have one. That's just a warning up front. So that way. But beyond that, again, it's as stable as you make it. Yes.
That's another thing that I'm pushing the team to support is basically doing ISO mirroring. So they want to stick to the Arch-Salt way, or the Arch way, which is I totally agree with. But for some people, they just want things done. They expect the install to basically be what the ISO was when they booted it, and because of the Arch way, that's not how it currently is. So working with them now, basically it still won't be a graphical install. You'll still have to set up your partitions, you'll still have to do everything. But basically there will be a shell script. You'll be able to run it, and it will get all of the packages that are currently running on the ISO and install them in your fresh install. So first boot, as soon as it comes up, you basically have the ISO running as a freshly installed system.
All right, thank you. So the desktop environment for the live distro, as of right now, is OpenBox. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say about that.
I don't use it. It's not bad. It's not bad. I prefer i3.
Okay. Then moving on. So the Kali desktop, they're using an older version of GNOME. So what you see in Kali is pretty much the same thing you get when you run through the basic installer. And then for Parrot Security OS, as I said, it's extremely user friendly. So if you just want something that you can just get started, you're not sure where to go, I suggest Parrot as a good start because they also use the Mate or Mate. I'm not sure the pronunciation on that right now. So they use the Mate desktop. They even give you a welcome guide and show you some of the tools. And they have a lot of graphical tools just so you can get started doing the task. So you can see how you scan for Wi-Fi network, how you can go ahead and see which ones are available, what tools you would use. For example, if there's a WPS exploit, or if you see a web network and you're like, oh, so let me just capture data so I can get enough IVs. So, and hardware support. So with the wireless adapters, Arch-Salt, all of the drivers loaded up pretty fine. I didn't have any problems with my drivers. I was using all Intel hardware, so for my wireless adapters and also the Alpha networks, so I had no issues with that. On Kali, same thing. Everything it picked up all of my on my different devices. It picked up all the drivers just fine. I was able to just go ahead and run the installer, and afterwards start it Bluetooth if I need to, or even go on wireless and just start using it. Parrot, I had a few issues where with my Intel drivers, depending on which of the computers, it was using the Intel IWL 6000, 3000, and also 5000 drivers. They did not load by default, but you can go ahead, you can always download those Ucode files and just run them, add them to your install afterwards. So for multi-monitor support for those who want it, so personally I'm a fan of multi-monitors. So with the Arch-Salt, it's going to be supported as your desktop environment that you install as it. So on my test computer right here, and actually this test computer right here, everyone's more than welcome to go ahead and play around with it. The password on there is TOR, so you can get an idea of some of the packages for the wireless and reverse engineering. But multi-monitor support is going to be as supported as the desktop environment that you install for Arch-Salt. Kali worked pretty good. I didn't have any major issues. Everything just worked from out of the box for me. I was able to just plug in the monitor and use it. So Parrot, the same thing with the Mate desktop. So the packages and repositories. One of the great things that you get with Arch-Salt is since it's Arch-based, you have access to the AURs, to where basically as software comes out, 90% of the time it'll be available that same day, if not within a few minutes. So, anything you want to add on to there about packages?
So the breakdown of packages is you have your upstream, you have your community, your core, your extra. Arch-Salt comes in as a step below that. It's an official repository, if you will. It's maintained packages that can reside in both. We try to forfeit packages to upstream versions. The upstream version is present. Even if we had it before, we'll pull it now. So you're using the community. You're using the same as everyone else. For packages that are not present in community and upstream, they get put into Arch-Salt. Arch-Salt also has packages that sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes the effort of getting the package working or installed versus the number of users that potentially could use it, there's bigger fish to fry. And a lot of that trickles down to the Arch user repository. So the Arch user repository is kind of like a everyone can come and play. You don't have to set up your own distro, you don't have to set up your own servers, you don't have to set up whatever. You say, here's a package that's on GitHub. To install it in an Arch system, it needs a build package. It needs basically a fucking JSON file. It needs a JSON file that tells it Arch where to install stuff, how to install stuff, what version this is, everything else. So what that person might do is, since they have to build this for themselves, they'll go ahead and throw it on the Arch user repositories as well. So now I'm looking at this package on GitHub. I can go over to the Arch user repositories and search for it. Somebody's already got it. It's already there. So I pull down their build script, build the package, and it goes through, it pulls all the sources from GitHub, it does everything it needs to do, it compiles it, it packages it up into a Pacman compatible binary, and then it installs it through your actual package manager. So it's not like this lingering, weird, off-the-map thing. It shows up as your installed packages. And we'll talk more about that at the end, because that's a good layer that a lot of people don't understand how to really integrate it.
And the other thing I just want to talk about real quick about Arch install is that with the release schedule, it's a rolling release. So that basically means is that you never have to worry about running about your upgrades. Like, oh, let me go download the newest one. You're as up to date as however often you run Pacman and just update the core of the installation. So that's another great point about that. You don't ever have to worry about like, well, I have to wait another 6 months for a new release to come out so I can get this support. It's like, no, this support is put in, you just update and you'll have it. So moving on to Kali. Tools are regularly added to the Kali repository. Something that I saw that they added recently, they actually have a tools.kali.org website now to where they're keeping track of all the tools that they added into the Kali that are available to Kali users. And also, if you want to find out more information about who's maintaining that package, or if you want to see find out more options for that program, they have links straight to that developer's website, so it's very easy and nice to go through. So one downside to Kali though is that in the official documentation, they warn against adding extra repositories to your install. The way Kali is set up, it's more of like a tool. They don't want you to use it as an everyday operating system where you do web browsing, you're creating documents. They want you to just run your tests, do what you need to do, and then just log back out of it. So Parrot security OS, since they're aimed at beginners and they kind of cover the whole spectrum, they make it extremely user-friendly. Again, they have a mix of tools. The developers, the Frozen Box Network, they say that they go through all the packages and they just test all the packages to see whether or not they're useful, so that you only have the tools that you need. Versus Kali, where you have these tons and tons of tools that you may never even use or even look at. They try to aim for Parrot security OS. They try to only include tools that will actually be useful to you.
That's another thing. When we deploy packages on Arch Assault, there's a whole tool chain they go through. We won't push you a broken package. They go through build bots, they go through build scripts and testing and everything else before they ever actually get pushed for distribution. So even though you're on a bleeding edge distribution, we aim to make it a stable bleeding edge distribution. So.
All right. So the documentation for all three of the projects, Arch Assault has, since it's Arch based, they have that excellent the Arch Linux documentation. So to give you an idea of how well developed the Arch Linux documentation is, the Getting Started guide is it's a little over 100 pages. It covers every single possible detail. So even if you don't understand it, you can pretty much fill in the gaps. That's pretty much what I did. I was learning as I was going through, and I was able to get installed. It took me a few hours the first time through, but I was able to get it installed because all the documentation is there. And if I don't understand why something is there, it's normally gets linked into another page on that wiki. So I'm like, oh, so what's this? And it's like, oh, click. All right, this is what this is. So with Kali, their documentation, they have just enough documentation to get you started. And then again, they have now they have the tools.kali.org website. So if you want to find out any information about those individual tools, you can go ahead and you'll be able to just search through and find that easily. So Parrot, because the group is Italian based, I'm just making a small assumption that all of their documentation is mainly translated information, and it's very minimal. It's enough. The way that their distro is set up, it's very easy to get installed and to start using it, but there's not too much on the way of documentation on their website. There's about maybe 1 or 2 pages. So at this time, do I have any questions about any of those releases or anything that you want to find out more about that I didn't cover real quick? Yes.
There's a new wiki coming soon. That's worth mentioning.
Oh, okay.
The wiki that's currently live is going away. And a new wiki is coming.
All right.
I should probably mention that if you want to reach out to the Arch Assault guys at all, they're very active in IRC.
Right.
Oh,
Free
yeah.
node. Arch Assault is the room.
All they require is a registered username.
We're pretty active.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does Arch run in the context of roots, or is it like pseudo?
It's pseudo. As I was going through my initial install, everything I did was pseudo based as much as possible. There was only like 1 or 2 tasks where I absolutely had to be root, but then after everything was set up and installed, you can pretty much just run as a user. You don't have to.
Kali is roots.
Yeah, Kali by default is a root only install.
Well, and this starts as root. You know, it starts you at if you go straight Arch Assault vanilla install. When you're done with your install, you log in as root. So you have to add your users, you have to configure your groups.
But that's how Arch is as well.
Yeah, I mean
It's
the same.
But
Yeah.
in the documentation of Arch, towards the bottom you'll have what are called post-install tasks that you would want to do. So setting up stuff like DHCP scripts. You know, if you had Wi-Fi that you connected to, you'd also want to set up a script for that. You definitely want to create a user, and then some more post-installation stuff would be if you're going to have it as a daily driver, you'd want to probably do Xorg and maybe a particular desktop environment if that's what you were looking for. You know,
right,
so
you
that stuff all comes with all the documentation of Arch.
It's very, you know, it's very minimal.
Yeah, that's the.
It is what you make it.
So more compatible with various types of hardware since they're really granular.
I mean, the 2 main distribution channels that the 2 main hardware types, we support ARMv6, ARMv7, and x86. So you can run Arch Assault on your desktop. You can run it on your drone. Yeah.
So yeah, just yeah, and then just some quick stuff I want to mention about each of the distributions. As you mentioned, Arch Assault does have support for ARMv6, ARMv7, different drones. So if you wanted to, you could actually make like a flying drone, goes into someone's building, crack the network, pull whatever information, and can fly away.
Or use it as a Dropbox.
Or a flying Dropbox.
All kinds of, yeah, exactly.
So, and then with Kali, they actually have something now that I think it's called Kali NetHacker, to where it's similar to the Only Express, to where it's Kali for Android, to where you can install it on a Nexus 5 and Nexus 7 tablets, or Nexus 5 phone. And then one interesting thing with Pair that was kind of outside the context of this is that they have what's called a Pair cloud support, to where, let's say you have a VPS that you're paying a monthly cost to, so instead of, if you just have that virtual private server just sitting in the background, not really doing anything, you can actually convert it to a cloud-based security distro, to where, for example, let's say you're cracking a network and you have this huge file that you need to go through, and you know it's going to take forever on your tiny little laptop with like an i3, i5. You send it off to your VPS and you just have all that data gets streaming over. The way the Pair distro is set up is that there's actually a program on the desktop called the Pair Cloud Controller, so it's very easy to connect to your VPS no matter where it's at.
So
yeah.
That doesn't make you think that the people of Pair are running your OS when you install it too?
Likewise, because Arch supports the distribution, you know, we just throw our repo into any distribution that is Arch based, and you got it. My VPS is on Linode. Linode supports an Arch image. I boot up Arch image. I drop in the thing. I run a couple Pacman commands. My VPS is a full penetration testing distribution that sits in the cloud. It's constantly doing something. If it's not scanning networks or cracking hashes or something, it's always doing something. It really is.
In a lab environment, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. In a lab environment.
In the cloud.
In the cloud. In the lab cloud.
All right.
Yeah, that's another thing.
But that's a great thing too that you don't really think about. But it's nice to be able to, you know, put something to run. Doesn't matter if I'm on my cell phone. I've got full bandwidth coming out the other side of my penetration testing or research box. I run my stuff in screen. I got to go somewhere. I close the lid of my laptop. I come back 8 hours later, and my thing's still doing its thing somewhere that's far more stable than any machine I'd probably host myself, which is super nice.
Yeah, if anyone wants to get started with Arch Assault, I can give you a copy of all my notes as I was going through the presentation and all the steps as I went through it, so that way you can actually get started on it.
We should do a live net install.
I debated it.
All right.
You wanna hold on?
Um,
You talked a little bit about the build and the repo system. It kind of sounded a bit like the port system in FreeBSD. Is that kind of how it is, or?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm pretty unfamiliar with FreeBSD. I hate to admit it, but it's true. It's very simple, put it that way. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's about 3 lines in a text file and 2 Pac-Man updates, and then you've got Arch Assault. That's the long and short of that.
Cool. No, you want to hop on?
Yeah. Well, this will be my first time trying this install.
I don't know. Same thing. Should I go through?
Mobbing. G, right? G?
Yeah, you got your own, man. Yeah, I don't think it has an error.
Yeah, I just don't know if this thing's even...
Well, you're on. Yeah, this
Am
is
I?
54GL.
No?
Or G.
It has a lot of like 16 now.
I'm going to turn it all back on again and see what that does. But yeah, so a lot of stuff, like a lot of these distributions, everybody's used to having a GUI nicely configured for you to use. You know, like in Kali, you've got your menu systems, and you know, so it's kind of confusing for users coming into Arch Assault because we basically piggyback on Pac-Man to allow you. Sorry. To allow you to find packages. Let's see if this works. Hey, it works. Right.
Demo guards are happy today.
Yeah.
They need to put those lights up, though.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? You see it yet?
Okay.
All right. Still want to bring that down a little bit. All right. So let's say you're in your standard distro and you want to be able to find packages related to a specific task. You're fuzzing. All right. So what fuzzers do I have available to me? So using Pac-Man, you'd basically be able to come in, specify that Arch Assault is the distribution you want to target, and then I could say like fuzzer. So the font size here is making this terrible, but you can see here that they're all broken down into subcategories. So you've got fuzzers, you've got web apps. So you can go through and literally see every package that you have available to you in the distribution that targets a specific task. Let's see. So that is all things related to WPS cracking. We've got Bully, Reaver, Wireless IDS, Git, which is literally a straight GitHub repository that we're pulling in and building, so you don't have to. WP Scan Git, WP Snitch Git. So that's the other cool thing too. Depending on how bleeding edge you want to be, you can pull from various sources. If you want to pull from nightlies, that'll usually be like your Git branch. So whenever that Git repository gets an update, we're notified of it, and we update our version number, rebuild the package, and push it. So it might be within 10 minutes of somebody doing a push, it might be within a couple hours, but you've got options. If you want to just stick with whatever's stable, whatever the last major release was, it's there. If you want to go a little more risky, you have that option as well. Another thing that I think a lot of people should know about is Arch Assault, or not Arch Assault, but R. So here, this is the Arch user repositories, right? So I want to install a package. Let's go over here and say, what's a package that I might want to install? Let's say we want to do a little gaming, right? So I'm going to look for Steam. Oh, Steam's actually in there now. Shit. Well, that kind of screwed me up. Okay, Bully. Bully's going to be found in Arch install. Now I never thought I'd have this problem. I need to find a package that isn't officially supported.
VMware, what is it?
The player?
DKMS.
Something stupid. There's got to be something here. Okay, we'll do this Peer TV Git, whatever the hell that is. So I look for Peer TV, right? Pac-Man's like, I got nothing. That makes no sense to me. Okay, so if you go into the Arch user repositories, right, we see Peer TV is clearly there. If I search Peer TV, you're going to see now, not only is there one, but there's two versions I can get. I can get Peer TV Stable. It's a command line tool that manages and plays a series from Easy TV. Everybody needs that, right? And then there's a Git branch that's also maintained. It looks to be maintained by the same maintainer as well. For things that are more popular, like if I was to come in here, Spotify. Spotify is a good example. If I come in here, Pac-Man minus SS, I think Skype's officially supported now, though. Yep, community Skype. Well, there's a call recorder. Yeah, it's supported. So, but Spotify isn't. So I come in here and I say Spotify, right? Pac-Man's not going to find it. But I want my Spotify. So I come over here, I search Spotify on the Arch user repositories. There's a shit ton of Spotify options now. I sort them by votes. That's going to give me the most popular. And now here is the official Spotify package from Spotify, even though it's not community distributed. It'll tell me its dependencies. It'll tell me if it's required by any other packages, who maintains it, all this stuff. Now normally I'd have to come down here, I would download the tarball. The tarball basically turns into this package build, which is the JSON file we talked about earlier. I'd run that through make package, I use the S and the I flag, it pulls down all my dependencies, it builds the package, and then it runs it through Pac-Man. So, you know, it's like a 4 or 5 step process, right? So there's this thing called PackR, and I recommend this to everyone that runs this. PackR, A-U-R, so just like Pac-Man, but A-U-R at the end instead of man. It's available on R, you install it, and the great part about it is it integrates directly into Pac-Man. So now I say PackR instead of Pac-Man, I run the same search.
It searches the AUR?
Yeah. It searches AUR in line with Pac-Man, so you have that, but the best part is, it tracks updates. So if I install through PackR, or if I install through the Arch user repository and then an update's pushed, I don't necessarily get it. I have to go and get that package again. With this method, whenever I run a standard update, it also checks the Arch user repositories, installs the updates, so you have a wide selection of tools. And the problem, I think I found one package that I couldn't find in any of those sources, and it was like some old PNG stenography software, or JPEG stenography software. I don't even remember what it was. So that's super handy. So those are 2 tips for using it on a daily basis, for finding what you need in your tool chain, and for finding tools that even are too bleeding edge for core maintainers to push upstream or ourselves or anywhere else, or stuff that just doesn't fit. Spotify's not. We're not going to install Spotify for you. So, you know, that's the fix. So yeah. Any questions?
Is there anyone that wants to go through an Arch install? Sure. Why not? I don't know. Do you have the latest ISO with you by chance?
I do. This is going to be fun.
Hey, we can use this laptop and reinstall.
I have one here. Let me. May the demo gods have mercy on my soul.
I like all the info.
Would you guys rather see a repository install, like a standard repo install on the back of another existing OS, or you want to see a vanilla from scratch install?
I feel like it's better to do the repo way, because if not, we're kind of more talking about like installing Arch.
Yeah, you're basically going through Arch.
Yeah.
What I
I'd
could
say
do.
it's probably better because most of these guys are probably gonna, I'd say, would probably go the route of downloading
Archbang.
Archbang, and then use Archbang to update the repos and grab all the Archisol packages.
I mean, that would be.
That's what I think.
That's
would
like a
probably be the
10-minute
more
install.
preferred route. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
What's the quickest install?
The quickest install is going to be a
That way,
repo.
so when you do a
10
repo-
minutes. So it's always about 10 minutes because of downloads. Or?
If you use an existing Arch ISO that already has an environment that you're happy with,
Instead of live.
then all you have to do is, like he says, you just have to do a repo install. You go update your pacman.com and then add the correct repos, and then you don't even have to install all of Archisol. So like, let's say you're a guy who doesn't even do any, I don't know, stenography or whatever, then why would you bother installing all those stenography packages if you're never going to use that? You could just install what you want to pick and choose from in your platform.
Is there a reason you get in the 32-bit and not the 64?
No.
So,
It's going to be running in a VM for like 10 minutes, so I figured, fuck it.
Smaller.
Yeah.
say it again?
It looks like it's going to take 20 minutes to download, so this might not work.
Like how to set it up inside of Archisol?
Oh, we're getting close.
Nitro's saying to go over the.
Well, I'm monitoring the chat also to see if
Oh,
anybody
you are?
chat.
I guess they're gonna get tripped up on that.
Oh, you're talking about like the emergency response?
I've never even set that up. I still use the slow shit.
No, the people that want you to
Yeah,
have
right.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's streaming.
Where's this, like, what's the service they using to stream to?
It's called My Computer.
Like,
Oh yeah.
so you just have like a public web portal that
You know
you
what?
can log
I
into
got an
and
idea.
watch the presentation?
Alright, well.
No, it's just on the internet.
Oh.
We tweeted it. So you can
Right.
check out the
How many people are in there?
I don't know, I gotta look it up on here. I can't tell on the phone.
Lino doesn't give you shit for pen testing from Lino?
Hmm?
Lino doesn't give you shit for pen testing from Lino?
Ask Nitro if he's watching the video.
He is, he's watching the feed right now.
You know he could
They
type
do a
it.
little bit, but
It says you can type in here if you want.
Oh, I think you need it.
Into the feed or stream or whatever you're. Yeah. Alright, I'll talk to you.
I should have brought my hard drive.
You said, no? I've already got I use DigitalOcean.
they've hit me up, and basically what I do beforehand is I give them a heads.
Oh, you're on the cyber guest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder. I was dropping packets.